Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and this is Create Your Own Cozy. On this week's video, I am shopping my stash, going through my existing inventory, and I'm adding a little pink to my upcycles. I'm using a little bit of pink transfers from my stash that I have collected so I can use up my craft supplies. And I'm using two different pink DIY colors. So if you want to see what I come up with, stick around. For project number 1 this week, I'm going to start off with 2 items that I grabbed out of my basket in last week's video in my Shop My Existing Inventory haul. Now, this little wooden thing, I don't exactly understand why I got it from the thrift store, but you know what? I have it here, and here is what I can see being used for. That is a wood round. Let's go ahead and knock the little dowel out of it and have a really cool wood round surface. Here is, this isn't a Bunsen burner. What is this? It's something that you put a little flame underneath to keep your food warm, and it is metal, and it is not high quality, at least, there's a peg missing. So I am just painting this metal with 2 coats of white Swan DIY paint. I am going to wet distress it. The good thing about DIY paint is it does not seal until you put a sealer over the top of it. So I'm doing 2 coats with my Perfectionist DIY brush. This is my favorite brush by far. This will be your entry-level brush, guys. After that is done, I try to see this wood round. I'm like, it is too dark. I'm just going to sand it. So much better. And remember in last week's video when the thing fit perfectly? This one does not fit perfectly. So I'm trying to look in my stash and find something else that works better. And then I found this one that's really big and that would just sit on the top. Look how much bigger it is. It would just sit on the top, but there is a hole in the center. So I'm going to fill this hole with a wood filler. I'm going to do 1 coat. This is very dried out, so I added some water to it with my water mister. But I did 1 coat of wood filler, let that dry, and then did a 2nd coat of wood filler and let it kind of be over the top so that I could sand it down smooth. I'm going to go ahead and seal this just where I filled it with Big Top, because I'm going to be putting a transfer over the center here and keeping this wood the color that it is. I have had this transfer, let's just say 4 years. It's Hocus Pocus. I got it at the Pinners Conference a while back, and I've used it in my daughter's room. Here are the details of it. I do not sell the stuff, but I'm trying to use what I've got, guys. So those are the transfers that I'm going to put over the top. While the wood filler is still drying, I am going to use E6000 over the metal and then sit the wood round upside down, make sure it's in the center. I do end up measuring, but I'm pretty happy with my eyeball of center. And then I put some weight on it and let it dry. I've got 2 more things out of my stash. I'm using transfers I've had for years. And then I'll just go put those wood rounds back in my stash for the next time I find something to marry together. The quality of this transfer, quite honestly, it was not my favorite. When I pulled this up, there were 2 spots missing, and I can't even tell you where they were. So to solve that, especially since this is a very whispery type of a picture, I just took some pieces from some scraps and rubbed it over so it wasn't an obvious hole. Not my favorite, but it was a good solve. I love the coloring and the design of this, but the quality is not my favorite. Made sure I did a top coat with Big Top to get that permanent. Project number 2 is going to be this little brass bowl that I thrifted a while back, but the inside of it was aged and not in a consistent way. So the first thing I did was try to use Barkeeper's Friend, and it did not come clean at first, but after some consistent rubbing, it came clean, but it did not come clean to a same color family as the underneath part. And I thought the underneath part was this beautiful brass color, and I didn't like the inside just looked like a fake metal, right? So I decided to go ahead and paint the inside and keep the outside beautiful like it already is. So I did 2 coats of white Swan. Then I wet distressed it because I figured if someone's going to use this to maybe put some jewelry or something in, there's a chance it could rub off, and I wanted it I like distressed because it makes my projects not so precious and allows for some age to start with, so when age happens, that is totally fine. So after I do wet distressing, I'm using a baby wipe here. I did 1 coat of Big Top before I got my transfer out, just so that there's a consistent base to apply the transfer to. And then I ended up finding the transfer book. This is the same one that I used last week with the little bee on the pedestal, and I said I didn't know where I got it. But it is a Redesign transfer book, and I will put a link. I believe I got this off of Amazon if you wanted to use these beautiful little florals. I wanted it to be super simple, so I grabbed this. I started in the center, and I did notice that it broke apart, but all I did is after it broke apart, I'd pick up the little backing, make sure it was nice and straight, and realign it, and you can't even tell with the final project. So after getting it all aligned, I burnish it in with my fingers, and then I go over the whole thing again with Big Top so it has a nice clear coat. And I think this is a precious little jewelry bowl, or I don't know. I just think it's really precious. What do you guys think? So I've been using pink transfers, and now I'm going to break out the pink paint. I found this tapered candle holder in my stash, and the metal wasn't quite what I wanted it to be, but it had that beautiful raised space, and I thought it would look really great either painted and then wet distressed, or painted and adding some wax of some sort. So because I'm going with pink in this week's video, I decided to break out the Petticoat Pink, which is a more girly pink in my opinion. And I just went over this with 2 solid coats. After that, I went over all the raised areas with a wet paper towel. I prefer using wet wipes or baby wipes to wet distress, but I didn't have any downstairs while I was working on this project, so a wet paper towel did the trick. And then after that, decided I am just going to use some clear wax on this one. you can see that when you put the clear wax on, the color deepens and it's gonna dry somewhere in the middle. And this was a quick and easy way to add some nice neutral pink color to your decor with the candlestick that you have in your stash or maybe in your home that has grown out of style. Let me know. What do you guys think of this one? Project number 4, I thrifted quite a while ago, and then quite honestly, I lost it. It was in the bottom, so it wouldn't get broken, but you can see that this is a tray with a mirror on it. The mirror is in really rough shape. I paid $5 for it. It's really heavy, but you can look, like, the roses are in really rough shape, and I don't think in a good way. After I realized the mirror was in such rough shape, I had a vision for it, and I'm excited to finally make it happen. I am using Vintage Pink, which is one of the DIY Cottage colors with JRV. It is such a sweet, romantic, peachy pink, very vintage looking, and if I had to pick between these two pinks, I think I would pick this Vintage Pink all day long. The only trouble is it is such a light color. It's practically like you're painting white. So I did have to do 2.5 coats, and plus this was a very detailed project, so no matter how hard I tried, there was an angle that I missed. Next, I cut off the sides of these transfers and tried to get them as close to the edge as possible. Something that I did notice about this particular one, specifically over a mirror, right? It's going to show every little thing. There is this little halo edge on this particular transfer. Not a super fan of, and it was very splotchy the way it came out. So I did go over it with some scrap pieces. This is not my favorite project, but I'm showing it to you so that you can get the concept. Even if they went on super well, having this large flower with roses, it's a lot of flowers. So I might be scraping this off and doing like an IOD toile transfer or something on top of it so that it's a little bit different. But all in all, it's still a beautiful idea. Let me know, what would you put instead of these flowers on this project? Project number 5 is one of the very first handful of videos that I did here on this channel. I just hit my 3-year mark, guys, which is kind of crazy. And I wouldn't put either of these finishes in my house right now. So I was trying to decide what finish I like best. Do I like the gray with the white wax over it? I paid $3 a piece for these. Or do I like a white with a brown wax over it? These are obviously not DIY products because the white wax yellowed. But the thing is, it's probably 3 years old, so the wax has completely cured at this point. So I am just going over it with that gorgeous pink color. I did have to do 3 coats because this wasn't a white underneath. I was going from a darker color to a lighter color. So I did 3 coats of this. At first, I added white wax to try to see the different textures, but I ended up dry brushing some white linen cottage color paint over the top and liking that effect better. While I would put this in my home, I don't have a space for it, so it's going to go in my booth, and I'm going to offer it as a pair and get it out of my inventory. It feels so good. I was a little disappointed today by using that pink flower transfer. The thing is, I got it 4 years ago. It could be that the transfer is old, but it, you know, in the last 4 years of doing this, I have not heard much about that particular brand. So I don't know. It just reconfirms that I love IOD transfers and their products, their quality. What I want you guys to do is be inspired to use what you already have, to go through your inventory, to go through your craft supplies, because we're all, let's face it, we're all craft supply collectors. So let's go through those craft supplies as well and start using them. It's amazing how much more creative you have to be when you're like, I'm not getting anything else. I'm going to use what I already have. So I wanted to encourage you guys to do that, to get inspired by me, not try to copy what I'm doing, but be inspired by me and tap into your own inner artist and trust that gut. Make it the way that you want to make it. And I would love to hear in the comments below how you are doing that right now. So if you are new here, please consider subscribing to my channel, hitting that notification bell to all to get notified every time I upload a new video. If you are here, thank you so much for being here. Feel free to share this, and it would really help me if you shared this with people you love and you think would love me. Guys, I'm thankful for you. I hope that you feed that inner artist soul that you have within you, and I will see you guys in the next video.